All right, let's talk about Final Fantasy. Today we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about the intergrade version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, the intergrade, intermission, that whole thing, because, we don't have enough types for this game and versions of this game, right? I was not a Final Fantasy fan. Man, that's really hard to say. I appreciated it. I understood why people liked it, but I didn't really care for it that much, and I just didn't get it. I didn't get the hype. Now, I hadn't played it in a very, very, very long time. And in fact, when I did play it, it was really my nephew was playing it and I was kind of watching along because he had the PlayStation with Final Fantasy VII. Now, I got my PlayStation later, but I never got Final Fantasy VII because it just wasn't my thing. Now that I've gotten older, I'm way more into RPGs and turn-based RPGs and all that kind of stuff. But the keywords I want to focus on here are was not. I was not a Final Fantasy fan. So Final Fantasy VII Remake comes along and it just completely changed the game itself. Now, some of the additions are arguably worse. I don't like that they split the game up into 3 separate games that are going to release across various generations, but they definitely go way more in depth on all of these characters. They go way more in depth on the story, and the game itself is just completely new feeling. And what's really cool about Final Fantasy VII Remake is that there's enough nostalgia there, but it doesn't rely on that. It makes its own choices, it does its own things, and specifically the gameplay is completely revamped. But I want to talk about something very, very unique about Final Fantasy VII Remake today. Final Fantasy VII Remake releases, and the very first part is basically all in the city of Midgar. In the original game, you leave the city. You go do a whole bunch of other stuff. In this one game, you're playing just the city part in the original. Now, even though I was starting out already not really being a fan of this series, and then seeing this information and going, oh, makes me glad I wasn't a fan, I'm here to say I was wrong. 100% wrong. What Remake does and does so effectively is it changes the focus. In the original game, the main focus, at least to my eye, was really Cloud and those surrounding Cloud. Cloud was kind of like the center and everything was revolving around him and happening around him, and there was the arch nemesis Sephiroth. In Remake, it kind of flips all of that all around. Now, I'm not going to get into all the other stuff and I'm not going to get into spoilers, but this game does not focus purely on Cloud. Yes, he is the main protagonist in this case. You play as Cloud, but there are caveats to that as well. And it's absolutely phenomenal how they incorporated this change even into things like the gameplay. So let's talk about that. The gameplay now. Before, it was just like a typical turn-based RPG. Each person has a turn, then the enemy or enemies have a turn, and so on and so forth until one side's done or the other. In Final Fantasy VII Remake, the difference in gameplay is that yes, that core is still there of the turn-based RPG element, and in fact, you can actually just stop the game completely and play it really like a turn-based RPG if you really, really wanted to. You move around this field, you move around the battlefield, it all happens in real time. There's no going to an extra scene or anything like that. What's so unique and so cool in this perspective change is now you can swap between each of the characters in your party, and each character brings something unique to the battle and unique to the game. So to keep it very simple and keep it non-spoilery, right out of the gate, you've got Barret and Cloud. Cloud is very much more up close and personal, very powerful, a lot of hard-hitting attacks. Barret is ranged. I mean, he does have a giant freaking arm gun, and swapping between the two makes you play differently and makes you think differently and makes you start to think, how can I utilize these two individually and together? And so this perspective change is huge for the gameplay from the original. Now, this is again coming from somebody who didn't have a whole lot of nostalgia for the original here, okay? And just really Final Fantasy as a series in general. I much prefer my Wii RPGs like Xenoblade Chronicles. So as I played it, I started to find myself incredibly engrossed and just captivated by what was happening. And I realized, like, why? Why is this happening? It's the same basic story, but why am I latching onto it now? It's because I'm older and I've seen some things. Is it because my taste in gaming has changed? What is it? And after these years, I've started to realize why I've enjoyed it so much and why I like Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's because I get to see from various perspectives and get to see different people grow in different ways throughout this journey. Now, yes, you could argue the original had that too, and it does, but it's a completely different flavor that works alongside. Look, I'm gonna give you a really nerdy example here. You go watch the Scott Pilgrim versus the World movie. It's awesome, I love it, it's great. That was my introduction into Scott Pilgrim. Then I read the manga. I started reading the manga and I was like, wow, this is amazing. They're largely the same, but they're totally different still somehow. I can enjoy both the film and the manga. It just gives a different perspective on the same situation. Now, the themes are all still there. The general storytelling beats, they're all still there. All of that stuff, to my knowledge, in Final Fantasy VII Remake. But the difference is that now, Cloud doesn't feel like the sole main focus of the story. He is a focus, absolutely. You play as him, so you attach to Cloud, and then there are the group around him, Avalanche and everybody else. But the focus is not really Cloud, it's now Sephiroth. Now, I've gone on record and said that I thought Sephiroth was overrated as a villain and he was just not that great. Look, I was wrong. I was just plain wrong. I now view this from a different perspective thanks to Final Fantasy VII Remake. And that's what's great about Final Fantasy VII Remake, is that it offers a different perspective and just a different viewpoint for people like me who didn't really have a whole lot of nostalgia. And now I'm entering in and I go, oh, I got it before I understood why people liked it, but now I get it. And yeah, there's the extra things like just giving this world a more fleshed out 3D look to it, and the environments are more full and the characters are more full instead of the old polygonal designs and stuff of its age. Now, I'm not saying the original's bad, and I'm not saying that that's what this remake is solely all about, and oh man, it's such a big difference. Yes, that plays a part in it, but the big difference is that perspective change. And the other thing too is that this perspective change has really amplified the nostalgia for somebody who never really had the nostalgia to begin with. Then you've got the music. You want to talk about nostalgia blasts? One thing that I have always loved about the Final Fantasy series, and specifically Final Fantasy VII, is the music. Good Lord, it's so good. It is so good. And this remake just takes it and says, yeah, let me turn it up to 11. And I love all of the little decisions that they made in using this music. And a good example is the battle theme. So like when you beat a battle in the original, there was the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That is used so sparingly in this game. It's there, it's absolutely there, but it's not in your face like it was in the original. And I love it because it makes you more fond of this thing and have more nostalgia for this thing. If it just kept feeding it to you and throwing it at your face and doing it, after a while you'd kind of get tired of it again and be like, yeah, it's really, really good, but okay, it's just another thing. This way it still keeps just those little things special, like, oh, that's the battle theme music. And then the kicker, it's not a one-to-one remake. Now, this is the most controversial part of this game and its sequel, and I'm sure its threequel. Some people just wanted just the original, and that's fair. I get it, I understand it. But for someone like me, it offers something new, something fresh. Playing Final Fantasy VII Remake has gotten me interested in legitimately playing through the Final Fantasy series. I am in severe debt. So if you've made it this far in the video, there's one of three things that's happening here. Number one, you already know about Final Fantasy VII and the remake, and you're just wanting to see what other people say about it. Especially if I put some catchy thumbnail up there and a title and you're like, what? And then you get in here and then you watch this video and you're like, that was underwhelming. A second option is you just like hearing me talk, which, why? I'm kidding. Thank you for watching. Or the third option, which was the goal of this video and why I pair this with the review of Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Nintendo Switch 2 that I did. It's to get you interested in this game. There are a lot of good themes here. There are a lot of things that are even relevant to this day. God, I hate that. So I've gone from somebody who did not care about Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy VII that much to someone who has played it on the PS4 and has a physical version, to someone who has played Intergrade on the PS5, who ended up playing Intermission, which was the version with Intergrade or whatever on the PS5, and now has it on the Nintendo Switch 2 and is currently playing through it again. And because I pre-ordered it, I get to play Final Fantasy VII OG on my Switch 2, even though I already have a physical version that I bought. I am in severe debt. Final Fantasy VII Remake is special. It really is. And I can't say that enough. And the purpose of this video is to hopefully pique your interest. And now that it just released on the Nintendo Switch 2, maybe that hype and maybe that like, whoa, it's there. It's a new platform. I just got my Switch 2. That you'll give it a shot. Whether it's on your PlayStation 4, your PlayStation 5, I think it's on the Xbox now, on PC, or on the Nintendo Switch 2, please give this game a shot. It's really, really, really good. Offers a fresh new perspective while still honoring the original. This was all a trick just to get you to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. Until next time, bye!